All of spirituality involves ignoring the world. If your full consciousness is there, there's peace and plenty for all forever. There is a higher consciousness, a spiritual consciousness. There is a God in heaven. There is a heaven. God is infinitely more precious and wonderful and not dreamy, it's mystical. It's everything in your spiritual consciousness is transcendent of the world in every way. And you're not even, in other words, all the psychological states that would seem interesting in the world, the idea of being interesting does not exist. It's a higher place of awareness, higher, more pure. It has no relationship to what seems to be this world. It has every relationship to something in the heart of every human being. It's a kindness, a love. It's kind of a worship of your mom, of the one you love, maybe of what you lost. You know, they say if you can be in an apartment or a home for many years and not be really happy there at all, and yet when you leave, you miss it. Because you miss all the places that you scattered your heart, your longing, because you're supposed to sit in a place like all the many spiritual people I've known around the world. You walk in their living room and their home and there's a quiet peace, a serenity. They'll place things in a certain order. There'll be a sense of beauty in and around it. It's very hard to live that beauty in the everyday circumstance. So getting back to this first moment of this thought is the fact that you simply can ignore what seems to be in favor of what is. It's faith, spiritual faith, which is transcendent of, it's not the religious sentiment, which in and of itself is what it is. It's something that you experience always. And sometimes things might not be done for a few months. You'll know that. You're never lost. And when you give yourself away, which you'll do every day of your life, that's all you do is give. It goes unrecognized by most, and you do it with such a, delicate touch that it's unbeknownst by all except the few equally considerate souls in your life. And if you're alone in the mountains, in a retreat, then you forget all this because you'll not be contending with other minds. You'll not be contending with anything. You know when to get the firewood, when to rake the leaves, clear the snow, you'll know. When to start your fire, you'll always know. You'll never be lost for a moment. Example for me would be in 1971, my friend Amrit Desai went to see his guru in India. I happened to be there to do something, so he went on the flight with my group, and we had something to do, and there was a little village, an area of 4,000 people. Of course, they were all there, or 2,000 people, the whole area, and the guru spoke for the first time in 12 years. And that's part of it's a mystical experience to be quiet for. And it's not difficult if you're happy, if you have God in your heart and you're in the right environment. It's nothing difficult about that. What's difficult is going to the safe way, to whatever. So what came out of the woods were two, maybe 6'1" or so, really like sinewy, kind of lean, tall, tough as nails. They looked like UFC fighters with an edge. They were like, walked out of the woods, out of the forest, walked into the village where this guru was speaking for the first time, and they literally fell prostrate, like boom, on the ground before the Guru. And then they got up equally, gracefully, powerfully, and just turned around and walked away, didn't look at anyone. Because they didn't believe in the world. They're not part of the world. When they were alone in the mountains, they were always with God. Does this make sense? There is a higher consciousness. There is a God. There's an answer to every prayer. There's a place beyond the stars that is not beyond the wisdom of the sage, which is the wise one, which is you. It's always you. Disengaged from the entire world. In your psyche and your consciousness, it can take some time. And once you're consciously doing that, you'll be aware of the dark force that owns this world. This is like a projection, and you'll really enjoy it. And it's kind of creepy in the beginning because you'll get slammed very hard with very horrible temptations, but you're going to love it because you're going to learn. It's like a college education in a few weeks, except it's an actual education. And then the rest of your life is an absolute joy. One difficulty I certainly have is you can't explain it to anyone. You're completely happy and at peace within yourself, and you know by the end of this mission here, all will be well with the whole world. Because we ignore the world while we're here, because we're involved with this sense of divine faith and purity and reason. It's an awareness of a preciousness in the air that is visible. I mean, it's lit up like very softly, like the very first ray of light at dawn. A ray comes through your bedroom and you're just waking up at that moment, and just the lightness, the softness, peace. You can call it ecstasy, but it's so quiet. So it's less than an emotion, but more than everything that ever happened in this world, which never was. It's always been called an illusion by all the mystical traditions of the world. So those yogis that I saw that day in 71, maybe December of 71, I don't know, they were not really in the world, so they didn't look at it. I know the many times you'd see Ramakrishna when he wasn't in nirvana, he would sometimes rub his face in the cement. He couldn't bear being conscious of the world. I'll be personal about it. I know in my early life, I'd just be in it all the time and try to get something done. When I had to get things done, I did it, always. But whenever I could, I just disappeared into the woodwork. You understand? It's not just a quietude, it's an exquisite sensibility. It's more than love. You understand? It is the other end of the rainbow. It's the heart of your heart, which is God, which is eternity, which is perfect, pure, an exquisite happiness. You have a delicate nature. You are a good person. The world will work on you every day of your life to make you reconsider your sense of purpose, of personality, who you are, what you are. There's always something. I mean, you know Him, the only God. And that He looks out from your eyes. He, God, these words are nothingness. In the old scripture it said, be still and know that I am God. In other words, there's so many gorgeous renderings of divine truth in literature, in the heart and eyes of the beloved. There's always God speaking to you. And if you want to see God, don't look for someone who solves riddles. God, why this, why that? Just look in the eyes of your children playing. Remember when you were playing. And forget everything else that happened. That's the beginning of meditation. I think somewhere in the scripture, I think Jesus Christ said that the children of darkness are wiser in their generation than the children of light. In other words, the spiritual ones, the ones out there in the socio-political atmosphere making you think of this or that, the other. There's nothing to be interested in the world at all. So Jesus, being the ultimate mystic, was saying that there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do. Everything is irrelevant aside from the quiet. And you're the quiet one. And he says, think not for the morrow. In other words, think not for tomorrow. The faith gives you everything. And I'm talking about spiritual faith where you experience this subtlety. In the atmosphere, it's a very delicate, softly lit haze. And that's your body. So ignore the world. You'll become very intelligent over a period of months, few years, and you'll understand everything. You'll search the world for its meaning and you'll understand it and walk away from it. Everyone has 1,000 opinions in the whole world, and they're just opinions, especially because they're not real. It's part of the world. So all those thousands of opinions for everyone are incorrect. The world never was. Only you, the wise one, the dear one. You're whole. You're secure. You're grounded in this heavenly light. You own it. So don't think of what you have to do or not. Every circumstance you'll walk into with this peace and happiness will be whatever you need to do or happen or think or say will be there. It's difficult. Like I say, I'm seeing those two yogis just fall down in front of their guru. There was just a God consciousness. So they would ignore the people because people are all insane. They're insane. You don't have to go so far as to say evil, you have to go so far as to say, I won't partake. I have honor, dignity. You will find God looking out from your eyes. That will happen. It's your destiny. You walk away from it all, and it will become this mirage. From the state of nirvana, it is hard to deal with people. You have to really practice at it early on. When I used to go to, I'd walk around like from 6 to 7 in the evening. One memory in a big city was, I'd go to the shopping mall where no people. Somehow the salespeople weren't even quite visible, and I'd walk through the yard of this shopping center, and just because I'd enjoy the peace and I enjoy the colors and all, and then and the trees, and then I'd scoot right back to my place and open up a book and just ride the tides. And I've never left them. The world is not a pleasant place, but you'll find the strength and the peace to outlast any adversary. You sit by the river long enough, you'll see the bodies of all your enemies pass by. If you get quiet enough, things will work out in every way. It's not quiet hiding from things. You can be rough and tough, beautiful, gorgeous, lively, artistic, hardworking, like Master G here, my buddy, just works all day. But he has a quiet heart. It's all it's asked of you, and even that is not asked of you. We're here for a reason. We're all here voluntarily. You are the holiness of heaven incarnate. You're not other, you're not less, you're not different than God. All the intelligence, the subtlety, the purity, the kindness, the loving nature will clarify everything within your emotional structure, your thinking process. It'll become more and more delicate too. You're not moved. The whole thing is not react to anything in the world. The world isn't here. And if you have a spiritual nature and you know what's being said, then each day you'll have 100 different cognitions of a higher reality. And then one day you'll disappear back into the light from whence you are, from where you come. It's your nature, the substance of your presence is God. I'm being very clear in this because everything in the world will be and is a temptation. So I'm trying to use the softest edge, words with the softest edge, because that's the only way to get there. And the world will challenge you. Ignore the world. Give it nothing. Just breathe lightly and softly, quietly. Ignore the entirety of the world in your consciousness during your quiet times. It will yield. It will quit. Its basis is fear, and if you have no fear, you will be eternity. That's a holy promise. You are goodness itself. You're whole, you're sane, you're pure, you're true. Everything will try to gain your interest. And it's still, you live your day, stop at tea time, and 4 o'clock every afternoon. I have different places where they had that. And I thought it was such an elegant way to live. Everything should be ritual. I go to a friend's restaurant nearby at a certain time because it's a ritual. Very grounded, very religious, family people with deep roots in heaven. And so there's a quiet, like, childlike love between us and joy. And someone will say, where are you going? Well, I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything. I am nothing, and I never was. Robert Rosenberg isn't. So please come to this place and have dinner with me. Please. The quickest way to help heal all those we love is to disregard the worldliness of the world, to come to this quiet place. And everything will be as it was before the world was, before time was, before things existed, before thoughts were. So I can see my sisters, my family, the people I love, my little friend who helped me with my book After Time. I know the future for them is so wonderful, so remarkable, but they're in certain traumatic places right now where they can't see it. But by me ignoring the world as it is and bringing as many as I can, that's the quickest way. Ending the world in your consciousness. That's how you'll help your friend in a hospital. The dear ones. The unhappy, the sad ones, the good ones. The free and the enslaved. And there are many of each. Please help me, help you, help them. There's a way out of the madness. And you are the way. And you are the truth. And you are God's presence. Ignore the world. Ignore it. And let this thing called divine faith fill your presence. It's transcendent of love, the beauty of this emotion. And they'll know you by the cleanliness of your hand and the goodness of your heart. The devil will be at your heels all day, every day. And you'll always enjoy it after the first few days because you'll learn something and see how true all these words are. Give it nothing. The devil fears one righteous person more than 1,000 blind believers. It's an elemental force of fear. It's not even a molecule or a subatomic particle in this consciousness. See what's being said? So those yogis walked out of the woods, boom, in front of the guru. And then walked away, didn't look at anyone. So, and I've been in that state. I remember early on, I was like, my heart's always been too goddamn big, but I would give love, but I didn't want to be around anyone or anything because it's painful, especially when they're serious about some circumstance. There's no circumstance. There's only God. I remember different times myself walking out of the woods, as it were, and seeing the way people act, and then running back into the woods, into this condition called nirvana. The beatific vision, the vision of God. It's not special, it's the opposite of special. It's delicate and humble and selfless. And when you step through that place into the quiet, you're at the throne of heaven. Isn't that wonderful? This is an illusion. Forget all the hardness and fastness of the whole world. And in doing just that, in your conscious awareness, you will have overcome the world. It's not a big deal. The world will do anything to regain your attention, all day, every day. But once you're happy, it'll be of no avail. It will get more subtle, trying to search out how to tempt you into believing it's real under any circumstance. The education you'll gain in a few short months is so transcendent. I can't equate it to anything in the world, because your education is who you are. You're not going to get it in any school, in any classroom, or from any person. It's the spiritual part of you trying to deal with this every day. And the answer to it is to not deal with it. Understand what it's all about. You'll search to understand the ways of the world and different thought processes, and you'll walk away from it. Nothing is true in the world. Everything is true in God. God is in your heart now. God is your heart. This is a very temporary illusion. But there's nothing illusory about the purity of your intent and the kindness of your soul. Please seek him out. He waits for you. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Thank you.